Let's talk about why trauma from childhood is so hard to heal and why it's important to focus on one trigger at a time. Start with healing one trigger at a time. You can do this. Hi, I'm Tamara Ridge, licensed marriage and family therapist and survivor of complex PTSD from intensive childhood trauma. I help trauma survivors move from fear based in PTSD to freedom by harnessing the power of curiosity. Childhood trauma gets laid down during the mundane day-to-day activities and interactions that everybody experiences on a daily basis. So triggers get tangled together with the most basic daily activities as well as the most basic human interactions. As an example, I used to be afraid in the kitchen because of the things that happened in my childhood connected to making sure that it's clean and never making a mistake there. So imagine now I'm afraid of being in the kitchen, and let's add a second trigger on top of that. Let's say believing that I've done something that would make somebody else mad at me or that I've done something wrong. Now there's a layering of triggering situations, and that is what often leads trauma survivors to get completely overwhelmed and to lose the ability to focus on any part of the healing process. It's the major reason why trauma survivors believe that they can't heal. So what is there to do about it? Here's the thing. Start with one trigger. Really focus on it. Really focus on your interaction with the trigger in terms of what you think, how you respond, what's really going on in terms of safety or real danger. And then take all of the steps to eliminate it. I'm going to give you 6 steps to heal a trigger. Now, most people need more support than just the list of the steps, but all of the steps in the right order and in the right way are going to be really important to help you know how to heal, to eliminate your responses to those triggers. Most treatments for PTSD really do stop after the 3rd step that I'm going to give you now. And they rely too much on the effective reframing of another person, maybe a therapist, or affirmations that you write for yourself that aren't really a direct focus hit on what it is you're trying to eliminate. But this is 6 steps that consistently works over and over again. So let me quickly go over the steps for you. And if you'd find that it sounds like something that resonates for you and you'd like to get personalized support, go to the description and look for the link of the Trauma Erase Method Academy. Here are the steps. First, you notice your out of proportion response. Now, I call triggered responses out of proportion responses because they're usually much bigger than what's happening in the here and now. So you notice it. Sometimes those responses aren't noticeable to us. I know for a long time, my preferred way of dealing with triggering events was to withdraw and to go in my head and overthink. Really a form of detachment or disembodiment or shutdown. First, you have to notice it, and that might be a place where you have to start. But once you notice, you have to say, okay, what happened right before? And what did I say to myself about it? The second is you have to use the right kind of breath to be able to get out of the fight or flight response in your body. And if you look at my other videos, I'm going to link one here and at the end to really show you the right way to breathe to reduce your fight or flight response in your body. The third step is to ask yourself, how does this out of proportion response make sense? So for this step, you really want to be looking at your body history. Your body holds all of it, the beliefs and all of the overwhelming emotion. That holds the answers to help you understand how this makes sense. You don't have to tell the story. You just have to know how it makes sense in your own body. Once you've figured out how it makes sense, then look at your in-the-moment response and ask yourself, what percentage of this in-the-moment response is old? How much of the emotional energy that I'm bringing to this moment belongs to a different time. And the truth is, if you're actually safe, that number is usually between 60 and 100% old. So step 5 is to then ask yourself, if it's 60 to 100% old, this response I'm having in this moment, then what's real right now? And you make a list. Now, you may have seen me say in other videos that when you notice a trauma response in yourself, you actually have to get yourself prepared so that the next time it shows up, you're ready to neutralize it. And that's what this step is about. You ask yourself, what's real right now? And you make a list. And then step number 6, when the trigger shows up again, you're going to repeat the steps. Number 1, notice your out of proportion response. Number 2, breathe. Now you don't have to do step number 3 and 4 again because you've already done them. But you want to remember, oh, this is familiar, I've done this before. And then go straight to step number 5 and read your list out loud while you breathe. Most people need support to identify how to formulate the exact messaging to use for your list in step number 5. And I'm working on a new book to be able to show that to you. But if you want full support, look for the Trauma Erase Method Academy in the description below and click on the link and you can learn about how to get all of the support that you need to heal all of your trauma. I want you to know how healing one trigger at a time, just focusing on one at a time, frees you to continue in your healing process and to be successful. The first thing is that when you heal your first trigger, I mean really heal it, it'll give you the confidence to know that you can do this. Most trauma survivors are so overwhelmed by all of the trauma and all of the things that are triggering that it feels overwhelming. But once you've healed just one trigger, then you get an aha and you go, okay, wait a minute. I can do this. My brain isn't permanently neurologically damaged. I can heal and I can do this gradually, a step and a trigger at a time, until I feel this successful in all of the areas of my life. The second thing to know about why this way of focusing on one trigger at a time frees you is that triggering events form clusters or themes. So, if you were criticized during childhood for making mistakes like spilling the milk, and you have a parent who says, "What's wrong with you? Why are you so clumsy?" and says all of these negative things to you, then anytime you make a mistake or you do something that maybe you don't feel 100% confident in, those voices are going to come back in your head and you're going to feel afraid to even try. But once you heal the trigger that's associated with making a mistake, and this specific mistake being spilling milk, once you heal that, then you are less afraid and able to heal other instances while there's a little bit different nuance of your fear connected to making a mistake. But now you've made 80% progress toward understanding why mistakes scare you so much and what to do about them. And as you continue to focus on your trauma response to making a mistake, you'll get better and better at approaching new activities without fear of making a mistake. And you'll get better at making mistakes without feeling bad about it and without going into your whole PTSD response. I want to ask you a question right now before I tell you the last way that focusing on one trigger at a time frees you. What have you wished that you could have done if you weren't traumatized as a child? My answer is, I loved playing the piano and started when I was 8 and stopped playing the piano somewhere in my 40s. So if I'd had the support and not had the childhood trauma that I did, I would have loved to be a jazz pianist. What would it have been for you? Let me know in the comments below. The last way that I want to tell you about today that focusing on one trigger at a time frees you is that triggered behavior stops you from doing those things that you should have been able to do if you had had normal development in childhood that was free from trauma. You would have learned how to soothe yourself. You would have learned how to make friends. You would have learned what makes a person safe and not safe, and you would have learned how to keep yourself safe. You would have learned how to ask for what you need and what you want, and you'd be able to say no to those things that don't serve you. Heal the triggers, and those things, those very things that you were not able to accomplish developmentally, become easier to see and easier to change, because the fear of making the right choice for yourself gets neutralized, and you don't have to worry about what someone else is going to say or do based on your childhood fear when you make a choice that's good for you. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.